The freight market moves much like a waterfall, which is what we always talk to as the waterfall theory of freight. With the SONAR tender data that we have, you're able to actually see this theory play out. With our outbound tender volumes, which are based off of an index because of this waterfall theory, you are able to see holiday lulls on when most loads are not getting tendered out during those times. And then you're also able to see how shippers are actually filtering through those routing guides or waterfalling through the brokers and carriers that they're contracted with. I'm sure most people know shippers have more than one broker or carrier that they have their volumes contracted with and agreed upon to move. So when things start to heat up and you start to see things flip into a carrier market, shippers are forced to filter through those routing guides to those lower tier carriers. So for example, if their first tier carrier rejects a load, it will then fall to the second. If they reject it, it falls to the third, so on and so forth, until that load is either accepted or then pushed out to the spot market. So our volumes being based off of an index are measuring that routing guide or waterfall theory. The value that you're seeing here is not necessarily what's important. It's more so the trend of the volumes over a longer period of time. Are they increasing? Are they decreasing? Is there more demand or is there less demand? But with this information, we're also recording the carrier side of things and the carrier sentiment to the volume demand that's getting tendered out. And we have that through our outbound tender rejections.
Yeah, talking about the waterfall theory in itself, routing guides, I always knew them as waterfall systems. So as you mentioned, carrier tenders out that first load to, or the first tender to the carrier that's first on that routing guide or in that waterfall system. If it's accepted, the load moves as planned. If it's rejected, it falls back to the next carrier. Now, looking at it from a volume perspective and then a rejection perspective and what kind of the downstream effects of that is, or the bottom of the waterfall, are ultimately the effects that has on price. If you think about it, when a load gets rejected, it falls back to the person in second place. Typically, it's going to automatically pick up cost. As it moves through that waterfall, the freight's going to become more and more expensive until ultimately it might fall out into the spot market. Now, when the spot market carriers are able to accept or deny loads that are being offered to them, they're able to kind of set their own rates. Mm-hmm. And we can see some of the effects that the rejection rates have on the spot pricing. What we see here in blue, that's our outbound tender rejection index. The green line is the NTI. That's our 7-day average of spot prices at an all-in rate per mile in the market. And you can see, if you go back to December of 2021, you can see that there's a time period right there at the beginning of the month when rejection rates kind of bottomed out and they stayed flat for a few days. You see almost exactly 7 days later that the spot prices did the same thing. And you can see that trend as we moved all the way throughout the last couple of years. Looking here at this point, this last December when we saw an increase in rejection rates, we saw that the spot prices followed right after.
Yep.
So looking at that upstream tender to see as it moves its way through that waterfall, gives you the ability to understand what's going to happen in your pricing rather than just relying on lagging pricing data.
Yeah, and I think you're also able to see how much load board or spot market action, there potentially will be. Yep. Rejections are really your leading indicator into those spot market pricings. And the reason, even though, the rate data within SONAR is updated daily along with our tender data, yep, the rejections are looking at loads that are picking up 2 to 3 days from now. So that's 2 to 3 days heads up on when those loads may actually be seen on the load board to be quoted for that spot pricing.
Yep, absolutely.